This video is going to go through solving equations and how to make this foldable. So to start, we want to go ahead and flip this over, and you're going to take this side, the left side, you're going to fold it over just to where you can see solving multi-step equations over here, and press down to get a nice fold. And then we're going to grab some scissors and we're going to cut along the dashed line up to this fold. Now I'm not actually going to cut right now, but that should give you 2 flaps. Now once you have it cut and you're ready to go on, we're going to start by solving this first one. So we're looking at what happens when I have variables on the same side. Well, to start, we're going to draw our line down just like normal. Then I want to combine like terms. So I can see my 3x and my 2x are like terms. So I'm going to put a box around them. And I know 3x here and 2x here gives me 5x. And my minus 4 stays the same. It's going to equal 36. Nothing changed. So I bring it down. Now remember, your goal is to get x by itself, so then I need to do the opposite of what's here. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus 4, and I'm going to do plus 4. But remember, we have to stay balanced, so if I do something to one side, I have to come do it to the other. So now those 4's cancel. My 5x is left. It comes down, and 36 plus 4 is 40. Okay, once I'm here, I can see 5x equals 40, so I need to do the opposite of what's here to get x by itself. So I divide by 5, divide by 5. Those 5's cancel, and I get x equals, well, 40 divided by 5 is 8. So now that I've isolated my variable, I can see that my solution is x equals 8. Okay, well, let's look at number 2. Now, number 2 is the same idea, but I do have a little bit more going on within the problem. So I start with my line down. Now we need to combine like terms. Well, I can see I have a 12x and a negative 3x. Well, this would be 12x minus 3x, which becomes 9x. But then I also have this plus 9 and plus 5 that can be combined. Well, that gives me a positive 14, and it equals negative 49. Okay, so now I need to work on getting x by itself. So I'm not going to start with the 9. We don't start with division. We have to start with the 14. So I'm going to subtract 14, and then to make sure everything stays balanced, minus 14 on the other side. So these 14's cancel, and I have 9x equals, well, negative 49 minus 14 gives me a negative 63. So now to my last step, I need to get rid of my 9. So I do the opposite, and I divide by 9 and divide by 9. So my 9's cancel. I'm sorry for the shaky camera. So x equals negative 7. All right, moving on to number 3. Okay, number 3, it does get a little more difficult, but again, it's not going to change my process. Okay, we still start with our line down. I see I have parentheses. Well, remember, parentheses means, hey, I got to do this first. But what do I need to do first? Well, I need to distribute this 5. So I'm going to say 5 times x. Well, that becomes 5x. And 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Then I bring down this 3x because nothing's happened to it. And it equals 14. Now I need to combine like terms. So I've got 3x plus 5x, which gives me 8x. Bring down that minus 10, and it equals 14. So now we're back to just isolating our variable. So I do the opposite of a minus 10 and add 10. We have to stay balanced, so we do it to both sides. So those cancel, and I have 8x equals 24. And then my final step, divide by 8, and I get x equals, well, 24 divided by 8 is a positive 3. And that's my solution. So that's what happens when I have variables on one side. So on one side, we combine like terms. Then we isolate the variable. And then my last step is just finding the solution. All right, so moving on to what do I do when I have variables on both sides of the equation? Okay, well, looking at this, here's my equal sign. We want to start by drawing our line down. Now, I can see I have a negative 2x and I have a 4x, but they're on opposite sides. Now, I can't just say I'm going to put these together like I was doing up here. I actually have to move it to the other side. Now, I always like to put the variables on the left side, so I'm going to move the 4x. So I do the opposite, subtract 4x, subtract 4x. Well, now these are on the same side, so I can combine them to a negative 6x. Bring down that plus 15, and it equals 39. Okay, then I'm going to subtract my 15, just like I was doing above, to isolate my variable. That cancels, and I have negative 6x, and 39 minus 15 is 24. So I divide by 6, and I get x equals 4. Okay, now moving on to number 5. There's my line. And on number 5, I can see I have a 13x on the left, but then on the right, I have 10x and negative 4x. So with this one, not only do I have variables on both sides, but I also have a combine like terms on the right. Anytime you see combining like terms, you want to start there. So I have 10x and negative 4x. So that's going to change to 6x plus 37. Nothing has changed on the left, so we bring it all down. Okay, now for the next part, I'm going to move this 6x over to this side. Remember, you can't just combine across, it has to be moved. So we say minus 6x and minus 6x. And now these are on the same side, so I can combine, and I get 7x. Bring down the minus 5, and it equals 37. Okay, so now we're to the isolating the variable. So I'm going to move my minus 5 by doing the opposite, and we have to stay balanced. So I end up with 7x equals 42. So I'm going to divide by 7, and I get that x equals 6 as my solution. Okay, number 6. Okay, on number 6, I see those parentheses again. Well, we talked about those up here. We said anytime we see parentheses, there's something I have to do first. And that first thing I have to do is distribute. So we're going to start by distributing the negative 7. So negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times negative 1 is a positive 7. Then we're going to do the same with this over here, but this time it's a negative 5. So I have negative 5 times x, which is negative 5x, and negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. So now I need to move things around. Again, I like to put my variables all on the left side, so I'm going to move this 5x and do the opposite. So my 5x cancels, and a negative 7x plus 5x gives me a negative 2x. I bring down my plus 7, and I bring down the 25. Then I need to get rid of that 7, so I'm going to say minus 7 and minus 7. That cancels. Well, 25 minus 7 is 18. And that negative 2x comes down. My final step, divide by negative 2 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 9. And that is my solution. Okay, so now here's my summary. When we talk about solving multi-step equations, especially when I have variables on both sides, I like to use what we call DC VAMS. Okay, well, DC VAMS stands for distribute, combine, variables, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and lastly, solve. And those are my steps. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and final step 6. Okay, so these are your notes. Please make sure you put them into your notebook.